CV is a game that I played a couple of months ago and I really enjoyed it. It was a simple game, a dice game. You would roll dice to generate resources and you would use those to buy cards that will go to form your CV, your biography. And while the theme really was somewhat immaterial, the mechanics and the overall experience were pretty fun, pretty enjoyable. Now, I just received a new version of that game, a new installment in the system. This is going to be a system called C.V.lizations. In truth, after playing the game, I can tell you that the most similar things that you find here are the art, which is by the same person, and the fact that the letters CV are close to each other in the same order in the title. Other than that, the two games don't have much in common. At a first look, the overall idea is that, yes, you generate resources that you use to purchase cards, and you use sets of those cards to score points at the end of the game. But the way you get there is so completely different from CV that, well, let me tell you. Also, a warning, if you're looking for a civilization game, I don't want to waste your time. You may want to look for it somewhere else, because this game really has virtually no theme. There's art on the cards that looks like it's coming from a civilization game, has to do with a civilization game. You had the division in 3 rounds that are called eras, but calling around an era ain't enough to make it one, because when you have the earliest eras of your civilization that include consumerism and allow you to build a tablet, yes, not like an ancient tablets of clay, just like a tablet like the ones we used to play video games, well, then, of course, there is no civilization theme in it. But there is a game. Let's talk about the game here. The game is divided in 3 rounds, so-called eras, and each era is characterized by a series of cards that will come out of one of those 2 decks and will be available for purchase. 4 cards are available each turn. This is used for eras 1 and 2, and this deck is used for era 3. Each player has a set of cards representing different possible actions that will allow you to collect resources from various sources, including your opponents, and also will allow you to exchange resources, do other things. But the idea is that you play these cards because you want stuff. Each turn, the players, starting with the first player that has this knight token here, each player chooses 2 cards and puts them in front of themselves. One of them is put face up and one of them face down, and it's as simple as that. And the next player goes and decides to do the same, to put, well, you don't decide to put a card face up and a card face down. That's simply what you do. That is the main idea in the game. So I'm doing it totally randomly here. There we go. There we go. So players will place down their cards, then all of the face down cards are revealed, and as you see, cards are numbers here that indicate the order in which they are resolved. You start with lower numbers, 2 here is the lowest one, and then you simply resolve them. You do what the card says. What is really important and is really interesting is that the effect of the card depends on how many players played it. So you can see if only 1 player played the card, you get certain resources. If 2 players played it, you get more resources. If 3 players played that action, then you get fewer resources. Yes, for most actions, when you have exactly 2 players committing to that action is when the action pays off the most. Too many, too few, not nearly as much. There is an exception, which is very important, which is trading. Well, because of the law, demand and offer trading is the one thing that if only few people do it, then you get more stuff, because you can exchange a resource into 3 of another type, but the more people do it, the less the trading action generates. Then you have a card that allows you to repeat an action twice, unless too many people committed to doubling, then no one gets anything. Thieving allows you to steal resources. Again, 2 is best, 3 is worst, 1 is like, I can deal with that. As simple as that. Logging gives you these resources here, gives you wood. Hunting gives you Pac-Man. I guess that's supposed to be food, but then if you think of it as food, it's cheese, I guess. And hunting gives you cheese. Makes no sense. Stone Quarrying gives you stone, and then other actions, as we said, give you other stuff, allows you to exchange stuff, etc., etc. Now, quarrying, since 2 people play quarrying here, then each quarrying player will get 3 stone. Cunning, I get anything I want, and suppose I want some wood, etc. After the players have collected their resources, they spend them to purchase idea cards. Again, 4 of them will be available at all time. It's simple as that. That symbols that you see there represent the cost of the idea card. You pay the cost, you take the cards. Some cards have an immediate effect. Some cards will only score at the end of the game. Some of the cards will give you benefits that may apply for the entire game. And so those, of course, is better to get early on, so you can exploit their effects multiple times. So as the game progresses, you will build your own little tableau here. You need to make sure that you remember all of the effects. Many effects have to do with scoring at the end of the game, so you need to make sure that you maximize them, that towards the end of the game you create the circumstances that will allow your scoring cards to be highly beneficial at the end. The resource that scores points in the end of the game is happiness, and I like that building a civilization should be about happiness, and to me this is the most and pretty much the only thematic element in the game, but it's one that I like. So you select cards, use them to purchase stuff, form your little tableau, exploit your effects, and continue like this until the end of the 3rd era or round. At that point you score points, you count all the happiness points the players may have already gained during the game, add those that are generated by scoring cards at the end of the game, and the player with the highest total is the winner of the game. I really enjoy C.V.lizations. I find it quite interesting. Although it is not for everybody, you definitely need to find the right crowd. And to me, that kind of crowd is one that likes to think and try to read the opponents without overthinking it. If you have somebody that takes it just as a simple light game that has no thinking involved, then basically they will just start acting erratically. Those that are trying to create a strategy, they will be completely thrown out of balance because of that, because the combos that they have in mind never work because the opponents are acting randomly. On the other hand, if somebody is trying to think about, well, I know that Jim is doing that and he thinks I'm gonna do that, so I'm gonna do that instead, but alas, I need to be careful because Anna is doing that and she thinks that Jim is gonna do, that's too much. But in truth, if you do not overdo that, that to me is the most interesting part of the game. I really like games where you're trying to read the opponents, where you're trying to bluff them possibly, and also where you're trying to grab something that will further your cause while also reducing the other player's possibilities of doing the same, of improving their position. That is to say, I see what the idea cards are, and I know you're going first, so I kind of get a sense of what you will likely try to take. But then since you are first, and I know you, I know that also all things being equal, will try to get something that will help you, and you can see I could buy. You're trying to leave me without anything to buy, so I'm going to plan accordingly. That is to say, when you're buying something, unless you're the last player, the other players can try to get a sense of what you'll be able to take and to take it from you before you do. So when the game comes to you, you may not have anything left that you can buy. However, there's also a nice random element there because players may plan precisely that way. I'm going to grab that resource, so the next player with the pool of resources that they have cannot buy anything, but then a card comes out that changes things. So there's still that balancing element there. It doesn't feel completely deterministic, but it doesn't feel completely random either. If you can read your opponents and if everybody's playing the right spirit, at least trying to read the opponents, then to me there is a very good balance here between randomness based on the cards that come out from the deck and apparent randomness, but in truth readable randomness based on the secret selection of actions, because if you could read what the opponents did, there would be absolutely no randomness there. So I definitely like that. I like bluffing games, mind reading games. This game gives me this. Also, it's interesting that you do not get your cards back once you play them. You get them at the end of an era. So memory counts, memory matters. Planning ahead counts, because if I want a certain resource, I know that I only have that card that gives it to me, and then if I want more of that resource, I need to use other actions to do it. I need to steal it from you. I need to use cunning to get it. I need to trade, etc., etc. And also very important, since everything is relative to how many other players are playing a card, I need to try to remember what the other players have played. Well, everybody got rid of their cunning, everybody got rid of their trading. Now this could be the right time. I'm happy that I held out until now. Other things of this type, oh, everybody's gonna use doubling at the same time. That's not gonna be good. Let's wait. So then everybody waits, and everybody will end up using at the same time in the last round, in the last turn of an age. So there are all these elements there, which again reward putting some thinking into the game, but there's always the dark side of overthinking, analysis paralysis, that may make the game less than fun in some groups. One element, one minus that I see here is that, yes, although there is randomness, because cards may come out of the deck that help you in ways that nobody expected, including you, after everybody is trying to frame you, but that may or may not happen. And what really is strict is the fact that if you do not have certain cards, you played it early in the wrong moment, that the players have created better combos of actions. That is to say, if you miss a couple opportunities early on, if you make a couple of mistakes and Lady Fortune doesn't help you, then you may fall behind and it may be hard to come back. There is that element there, that it is absolutely possible to make some mistakes early on, and again, unless you get lucky, the game can be a little punishing, can be a little unforgiving that way. Then you fall behind and that's it. But unless you really, I don't know what kind of mistake you could make that kicks you out of the game the first card that you play, you realize that you're in trouble maybe halfway through the game, which is not ideal, but the game lasts like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, depending on the group. That means it's not gonna be too long before the game is over. And at least you won't be doing king making. But yes, it can be disappointing if you realize that you're, for all intents and purposes, out of the competition somewhere towards the middle of the game. Not ideal, but I think with a game, with a group of experienced players, this will be less likely to happen. And this is something that is interesting. I want to point out the funny art, the very simple light mechanics may make it look like a gateway game. But I would not play this with the same people that I would play Pandemic or Ticket to Ride with, to introduce them to the joys of board gaming, because the rules are simple, but the strategy can be subtle, and making mistakes like differently to what should happen in gateway games can be very, very unforgiving, can be punishing, can be problematic, and I would not want novices of the board game hobby to face that. So it's a light game to be played with serious veteran board gamers. This probably is my summarization of C.V.lizations. So if you had the right group in the right spirit, I think this is a game that can be very entertaining. I definitely enjoyed it. I like it. I like the thinking behind, but again, be careful. I put a couple of disclaimers here and there, because it's a game that really I do not think will work well in all groups, but with the right group, it can be not a filler, but a shorter, medium length game that definitely can be fun and entertaining, with some exciting moments, with some hilarious moments when you realize that everybody played the wrong card, everybody just played the cards that nobody expected. Well, you didn't expect anybody to play a certain card, and anybody did. That it's terrible game-wise, but it's hilarious and people will enjoy it. Nice, fun game. C.V.lizations.